All right, so fellow Asian dudes, I think I've had enough. I think I've had enough of the stuff that just just look at this thumbnail, right? Look at this thumbnail. Look at the YouTube video title here by Grace. Grace, I just want to watch the video. I'll pause it as I see fucking fit and make comments as I want to. I don't do this. This is not my habit. I guess I'm in the habit of watching other content creators do this. And, I could take like passive approach and just be like, I'm a established dude. I'm early 30s in the dating market. This culture, I certainly feel it. I feel this culture. I feel some of the other males around my age making YouTube videos about like this topic. It's like white phosphorus. Like you can't touch it. You can't touch it. You can't talk about it. It's that forbidden thing. You get labeled as cringe, insecure. You get the Asian dude jokes. You get all of it, and it's career suicide. Especially you can't start a content career with talking about this stuff. You can't maintain a content career talking about this stuff. You don't do it. No Asian dude does this unless you get a couple million followers and subscribers on YouTube, and whatever trend you were following, whatever you're doing, dies down, or you go a different direction, the group falls apart, agendas change, people shift in and out, and you think about, I've had these thoughts, I want to talk about it, and then you have a big audience who may or may not still follow you or listen to your content anymore. It is what it is. Maybe you feel comfortable then to talk about it because you're not your career is maybe, I don't know. It's something no one wants to talk about. And today I haven't watched this video. I saw some dude talk about it, and I just felt like I can really just take one or two stances. I can like start making videos because I don't make videos. I have everything to do it. I've thought about it many times, haven't done it. Have not done it. It's not me. I don't do it. I could start by talking about this stuff, and or I could just not. I could just act like it doesn't exist. It's not real. It's all fine. But I mean, like, this only came out 2 years ago. This idea is not 2 years old. First of all, right, my first thought was I think I saw like a 5-second clip of what this woman was saying, and I was just like, I had to pause the video, the guy talking about it, because I was like, he is dancing around the problem. Not to say there's a solution for this problem. There isn't. There is no solution for this problem. But I think a way to adapt to this situation is to at least acknowledge it and talk about it's just weird. Let's start the video. Let's start the video.
So the other night, my friend Kenny and I were having one of those 1 a.m. FaceTime discussions. And I don't know how we landed on it, but we started talking about race and attraction. And my friend is an Asian American male, so he has a very unique perspective on dating in relation to racial preferences. Basically, he was talking about how it kind of sucks that Asian men are generally perceived as unattractive.
Who the fuck? Okay, I'm gonna hold on. I'm gonna hold that thought. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going with the video.
And statistically, they do tend to have the worst luck on dating apps. And I admitted that I'd never been romantically or sexually involved with an Asian American person before. The men that I tend to involve myself with tend to lean towards white and Hispanic. And he said, well, that makes a lot of sense considering you grew up in America and you have been exposed to Eurocentric beauty standards. And this kind of led into the question of why are we attracted to certain people, and is there a way that we could change who we're attracted to? Because we all notice certain patterns, right? I personally noticed recently while I've been riding the subways in New York City that there are a lot of Asian women and white male couples. And maybe this has something to do with the fact that maybe I just notice those types of couples more because I am an Asian female that is attracted to white males. But
Okay. All right. So the fact that she has to say like I'm an Asian female who is attracted to white males and come on YouTube to 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 share this opinion, which like you don't see me going on YouTube and talking about whatever the fuck I like. You don't see dudes doing that. Like it's just maybe I'll make a tweet about it or maybe I'll like post a picture, but it's just so unnecessary to just think like, okay, I'm gonna go tell a bunch of people. No, what she's trying to do is profit off of the narrative of an Asian fetish. That's all it is. And that is a very, very profitable industry. Putting Asian men as second, third tier, just tiering them, right? Just the act of tiering them publicly and then sharing it like this is some sort of the way she's communicating this is like this is just who I am and that's what it is and how it's the norm. So she's removing culpability like or responsibility I guess for you know I didn't do it first, a bunch of people are doing it, it's not just me. So she's taking herself out of the equation and just saying like all these other women are dating white men, whatever. Okay, like you don't. That has nothing to do with you. There's people dating all kinds of people and doing all kinds of things behind closed doors that you don't know about. It has nothing to do with you. And just a minute into this video, I mean, you see the same thing. It's a mid Asian woman trying to profit her little crumbs of the Asian fetish, yellow fever, whatever pie there is that she can get into because she's not attractive enough to do porn. I don't see, I'm just, waist up here. I don't see anything jumping out at me. I mean, she's attractive. Certainly, I'd date her, if I hadn't heard any of the words come out of her mouth at this point. She's good looking to me. But nothing insanely crazy. Whatever. She's mid Asian. She's average Asian. I love it. I'm a fan of it. But where you cross the line, at least with me, I think, is where you come out and you need to share this opinion that like people need to know this. I want to share it. No one cares. No one cares. She's just trying, like many other women. You go on, subreddits, you start going down the rabbit holes and you see like the fetishes that go around and they get a lot of upvotes. They get a lot of fans. They get OnlyFans accounts, they get Fansly accounts, Patreon accounts, they get followers on Instagram, whatever. Maybe they want to start streaming on Twitch and then they put that part behind them while they start streaming on Twitch or YouTube or whatever, becoming a content creator. It's an epidemic that isn't going anywhere at all, and it may even become more prevalent. But without a voice to call this bullshit out, it's maniacal to think for someone like her to just go to make a YouTube video just as a fact, being an Asian girl who's into white men. It's like no one cares. No one fucking cares. Like, go find your white dude, go find your mid white dude, and be happy. Like, why are you stressed about it? Why is this our problem? Why do we need to know this about you? It serves no purpose. It's literally pointless. And I mean, I'd say I'm tired of it, but I'm early 30s. Early 30s. But it just has no place in like a society, a culture where Asian women, mid Asian women, need to make a YouTube video to tell others that they're into white dudes. There's no need. There's no need. She's too mid to go into porn. It didn't work out. She is trying to appeal to white and Latin dudes, right? She's trying to get those followers, and she's got a couple thousand followers right now. It's working, you know, and it's not just the young crowd she's after too. She's playing into the old game too. When she comes across as I'm a because you look at her, she's like maybe what 25, 20, maybe 23, 21. She looks a little bit. She doesn't look 18. She looks maybe she's late 20s. She's like thinking she's not only capitalizing on the younger white Latin dudes because she excluded black dudes and Asian dudes. She's capitalizing on she's in her age range. She's going to the moon. She's hitting that 18 range to 70s with if and I don't think people understand the mind game that is happening here. This is some intense level mind games. Any dude who's white or Latin, the age ranges has a pulse. It hears this. This does is it unlocks a narrative in their head on a very, very small level. And even if you don't currently even if this thought, right, it's hard to describe this. Even if you don't live that thought, right, like living in that enjoyment, stimulation with that idea floating like near the top of your mind, you can at least acknowledge it if you can recognize it. This mind game, it just opens a narrative for those types of males, which is a lot of males. That's a lot of people. Like that's tens of millions of people, maybe hundreds of millions of people, right? She's creating this narrative where to them, she sees them as something that she could date. So then that man, wherever they are, whatever language they hear this in, they can form it like a subconscious superiority over Asian men, over black men, because they fit her mold, right? Because she's the way she put a white cloth behind her. She's sitting down, well lit, looking nice, and she's saying this like this is a fact. This is fetish content. This is like psychological, not psycho, but psychological fetish content. But she's trying to make it not seem as that it is. It's fucking weird. It's fucking weird. This is, no one talks about this. I don't like to even talk about this because I just get upset that, because I know there's smart Asian women out there. There has to be, I just haven't met the right one yet, right? But I know there has to be. And I know they see this, and I know they probably have a thought. They're like, it's wrong what they're doing. And they're not gonna sit down. They're not gonna record a video about it. They're not gonna make a movie about it. They're not gonna make a TV series about it. They're just gonna acknowledge it and be like, you know what? You're one of those people. That's it. Because that's what I do. I just say, you're just one of those people. I don't fuck with you. I don't fuck with the way you think. You might have some like issues going on, whatever, which is fine. A lot of us have issues, but when you handle like issues that can tear a man's confidence down, and he's like he lives down the street from you, or he's your next door neighbor, he goes to school as you, or maybe like younger kids are like 13, 14 years old, and they're young Asian dudes that are coming up now. It's 2025, February 1st right now. Saturday, 10:30 p.m., right? This is me. This is what I'm doing. I'm molding about this shit. I'm not bald, but I'm molding right now. It needs to be said, I don't have my camera on. Maybe I'll do it in the future. I just don't have that confidence level right now. I don't. No, I just don't. Maybe in the future. But for any young dudes that are hearing this, dude, it makes me sick. She should delete her entire socials, all her socials, because this is just like, and I don't even allow myself to get this ramped up about it. But when I am right now, I'm ramped up. I'm ramped up. Let's listen more.
Statistically speaking, in terms of interracial couples, that's not an uncommon combination. Before I continue, I would just like to preface that the way that Asian men and women are perceived have a historical context that I'm not personally going to get into in this video, but the way that history has evolved, Asian men are emasculated and Asian women are fetishized. Asian men are perceived as awkward, and statistically they tend to be shorter, and of course there's the running joke that they have small penises.
This is bullshit. This is bullshit. I'll prove it. I'm not gonna prove it. Maybe one day I'll prove it, but that's bullshit.
And so they're generally regarded as undesirable and unattractive. Obviously, this isn't to say that all Asian men are unattractive. It's just that when
shorter, I'm a bit on the shorter side. I'm average for the country my genetics come from. I'm about the same height as my dad, right? So that I'm not talking about the height. Just to get that clear.
they are considered attractive, it tends to be a very specific type. So for example, they look like a K-pop idol, or they're over 6 foot, jacked, and have bleached hair. Attraction feels like something that's out of our control. It feels like something that's inexplicable and so inherent within us that it almost feels like some sort of biological force. And I think a lot of people would like to believe that in regards to their attraction, they are open-minded and not discriminatory. Like, I had a friend that accused me of having strongly Anglo-Saxon racial preferences when it comes to dating.
Good. I'm glad she got called out. Look at that face. Look at the face she made recalling that encounter with her friend where she said, you know, you have a really strong racial preference for Anglo-Saxons. She got called out. Good on that person. Hell yeah. Based.
And I immediately felt the need to defend myself. I was like, no, that can't be true. The last 2 men I dated were Hispanic. And he was like, well, yes, they were Hispanic, but they were white passing Hispanics. They weren't dark-skinned Hispanics. And I was like, and I like to think that when I am on dating apps that I give everyone a fair shake. Like, when you look at someone's profile, most of the time it's pretty easy to figure out what race they are. It might even be like one of the first things you notice. I try not to think about it too much. I just try to think, does this person catch my eye? Is there something appealing about them? Do I find them attractive? But honestly, I can't say I've swiped right on a lot of Asian men, and I never really thought much of it. I was just like, I tend to be attracted to white and Hispanic people, and that doesn't mean I'm only attracted to white and Hispanic people, because I have been attracted to other kinds of people. It's just that if you look at my history of people that I tend to be romantically and sexually involved with, most of them tend to be white, or at least.
Okay, and that's fine. Like, you can have a preference. I have many preferences. A very rich set of preferences, of things that I'll find attractive or not attractive. I could go on. This isn't the place for that. But my whole point, not my whole point, one of my points is that this is largely not needed. There's no need for her to be talking about this. I'll let her get back to it.
White adjacent. And I realize that now, because I grew up in America and I grew up in a culture that is very systemically racist, that internalized racism likely plays into my dating preferences. And I don't think
She blames the culture. She blames the culture. And you can't blame her for that, because I know for a fact a lot of culture in America it is pretty racist. It can get pretty racist. And for her to find, I don't know, an identity or communities online, whether it's like through chat rooms, let's just start with Reddit. You know, any kind of Asian, you go on Reddit, and this is just an aside, kind of ties in. If you look for like an Asian subreddit on Reddit, you're going to find 99% porn of Asian women and like 1% spaces for dudes. 1% of like where Asian dudes chop it up. And even in there, it's not pure Asian dudes. You got all kinds of mixes. You got infiltrator dudes who are clearly pushing some weird ideas. I could pull them up. I should pull them up. But sometimes you'll find posts on, I guess, like the Asian dude subreddits where you're like, what are you talking about? Like, you know, it's just, they have an agenda is what I'm trying to say. It just sounds like they're kind of trying to get in there and like, hey, I'm an Asian dude, and and they just make everything seem like, oh, I'm 6'5", I'm 25, I make 500 grand a year, I've got a 6-pack abs, you know, whatever, I'm Chinese, or I'm Japanese, and I get no matches on. I get no play. I had a cough there. Right. So like they'll just paint a picture of like this perfect dude who's like, aesthetically he's decked out. Like he's maxed out all stats and younger than you, makes way more money than you, has a probably better job than you, but like nothing is going right for him. And it just sounds like, well, damn, like if that's the case, like I've got no shot, you know? It's just that's why I'm saying like there's some even in those kind of spaces, Asian dudes can kind of, not even get really good advice as well. That's my whole point on that.
Up until very, very recently that this was something that was conscious to me, and I don't think it's conscious to most people. And then there's a question of like, what is wrong with dating white people or having a preference for dating white people? I mean, if you live in America, the majority of the population is white, so statistically, it's not all that crazy that the majority of the people you would date would be white, just because that's the pool of people that is accessible to you. But the funny thing is that most people end up with somebody of their own race. So if that's the case, why do I see so many Asian female, white male couples? Why am I somebody who struggles to feel attracted to somebody of my own race when that is typically something that is not a problem for most people? So
I think she just committed like a small lie where she said that she struggles to find people of her own race attractive. Like at no point earlier did she mention that there was any sort of struggle at all. Like she's even kind of smiling right now, because I think she knows she's fibbing. But yeah, that just sounds so disingenuous to everything she said for the past 4 minutes.
let's get into why I want to challenge my attraction in the first place. While doing research for this video, I was listening to this episode from Invisibilia. I will link it right here. I had a hard time finding material as to why we are attracted to certain people and how we can change that attraction and if it's possible to change that attraction. And this podcast had the most relevant information that I could find. A lot of the information that I'm saying I'm pulling from this episode. I think there's something unsettling about realizing that you're unconsciously discriminating against an entire group of people, even if it's just in a romantic context, which seems like the least important context to analyze discrimination in. But I do think it's something that's important to be aware of and to think about. Because of these racial biases, there is a really dark side to dating when you're an Asian man. Online dating can be really brutal, but when you belong to a race of people that is considered unattractive and undesirable, sometimes you'll message people and they'll be like, what the fuck, why are you talking to me? And obviously I'm not an Asian man, so this is not from firsthand experience, but I know that as somebody who has been on dating apps, it can be really scary. Not from firsthand experience, but I know that as somebody who has been on dating apps, it can be really scary and tough to put yourself out there and initiate conversations with people. And when things like that happen, it makes something that's already really toxic even more toxic, which is just really unfortunate and really disgusting that some people have those type of experiences when they're just trying to find a connection.
So, another kind of sick thing that kind of I think is going on here is that I think part of it is part of the fetish that she's created by doing this is you know she's showing a bit of an enjoyment, I think, towards the Asian male struggling to find dating prospects and stuff like that. It's a part of it for a fact. Disagree with me if you want. I don't care. You're wrong.
Another reason why I personally want to challenge my attraction is that I am a fan of not reinforcing stereotypes. Growing up, I was the only Asian cheerleader, and I was the only girl in this specific department of all of the school plays that we put on. I thought that being a minority woman in groups that didn't typically have minority women was something that made me special. Asian women having a thing for white men has become a stereotype. And it has a name, it's called white fever, just in the same way that white men can have yellow fever. And this stereotype, in a weird way, makes me feel, I don't want to say less.
So, I mean, I would actually argue. I think the preference between the white dudes and the Asian girls that are dating. I think more of the preference definitely comes from the side of the men, because Asian women have been kind of, if you've been around American culture long enough, I think you've seen that Asian women have always been depicted as exotic, or they age really well, that they are smaller. They tend to stay in really great shape throughout, their entire lives into their older age and stuff like that. Um, Whereas some, all kinds of women can do that too, but it's just been really noticed. And I think that's where the camera has been on. And that just ties into the whole fetishization. I mean, you take a group that has the power to create entire like production, to market and control an entire market about, like, all right, I want all the Asian hotties in my videos, and you know what, let's make another spin-off of it where they all have fetishes for white dudes. That's just something, that once that's been in a generation, a couple generations, you're going to start getting these kind of weird tangential ideas about the culture here, like what we're seeing coming out of her right now. Because she's completely off the point. I mean, whoever has the power, right? It's been men in making like these narratives and having money, and they can go wherever they want, and what better way to get more money to your country and increase, international relations, by saying that, our women all love you guys. They love you so much. And then the dudes believe it. And then it's just, well, hell yeah. It's, I mean, if I was a white dude, I'm part white, half white, mostly Asian, half. You see that, and you definitely get the idea that what we're dealing with now, coming out of, I guess, Asian women, it's off the charts. It's off the charts.
About myself because I'm attracted to white men, but it makes me wish I wasn't attracted to white men, because nobody wants to be the person that reinforces the stereotype. You want to be the one that challenges the stereotype, because fuck stereotypes.
That's cap. She's capping. She's lying. She doesn't wish that. I think she wishes that, if anything, I really do. I think she wishes that this fetishization just never happened. Fetishization never happened, and it just was not. It was not even a variable in the cultural equations that she has to deal with, like, mentally. It's inevitable, I think, but making a, even going further into her video, we're halfway through. Making a video saying where you wish it wasn't the case, but it is. It's just, it just enhances the fuel for the fetish. I wish it wasn't true that I liked white dudes, but I can't help it. It's so weird. It's so weird, dude. How do people not realize this?
Types. But first, is it even possible to change who you're attracted to? Because if you think about it, attraction is programmed by culture. An observation that both me and my friend that I was talking to about this have made is that Asian women who grew up in Asia tend to be with Asian men. But if you grew up here in the States, then you tend to be with white men. And why is that? It's because there's different beauty standards in different countries, and therefore, depending on where you are fed different information. So I have internalized Eurocentric beauty standards. And not only has that affected me in my dating life, but it really impacted my self-esteem growing up. I didn't grow up thinking that I was that attractive. It wasn't really until I became an adult and I really grew up. I had experiences that led me to believe that I was attractive, not because I believed I was attractive, but other people showed me that they believed.
Yeah. Yeah. And when she says other people, she's not talking about school. She's talking about as soon as she became passable for maybe young adult, she started getting eyes, she started getting invitations from, like we're talking about, any adult up to in his deathbed that was, alive pretty much, and that was in her community or neighborhoods or wherever she lived at, because they all have that same fetish in their head, that women like her are profiting off of, or like her, she's, profiting off of it at a smaller scale. Like she's working on it. Maybe she decided better of it and she's not making more videos. I don't know. I don't keep up with her channel, but I just have this video in front of me. That's it right now. She's trying to open up her, her portion that she is allotted for being an Asian attractive female, because she is attractive. I think so. But what she's saying right now, the personality, not attractive at all. No. No.
I was attractive, that I came to the conclusion that yes, I am attractive. So if where you grew up or what cultures you're exposed to determine what beauty standards you have drilled into your brain, then that means that attraction is a learned behavior. So because it's a learned thing, we should be able to change it.
And I guess I didn't even really fully expunge upon my point here, is that when she became a passable, young adult age, and she started getting this attention, she said, there's so much attention, I could never go thirsty a day in my life. Ever. Now, you could speculate about why is she doing this now? Well, maybe she was in a relationship. Maybe she was tied down for a period of time. And coming out of it, maybe that dude was, going through some shit. Maybe he didn't have resources to reach out to, and he was getting fed the same kind of weird psychological, cobwebs that he just didn't have the resources to deal with. So he was getting himself into a relationship he wasn't prepared for. He didn't know how to respect himself. He didn't know how to handle himself. Maybe he didn't have, the boundaries that he should have known as a young man or been taught. That's my point. So what I'm thinking is she basically was exposed to a exceedingly large amount of attention growing up and noticed it, put it on the back burner, came to it, at the time she made this video, or, up until she made this video, and just said, hey, like, I can profit off this. Let me do something. Let me become a content creator. Let me make a video about it. And here we go. This is what it is. Isn't it just disgusting?
Right? If we can learn something, then we can unlearn something. Right? So there's not really any direct studies on whether we can change our racial preferences. And basically all the information I'm about to say about this is from the Invisibilia podcast that I mentioned earlier, but this is what I learned. Our early sexual experiences have a lot to do with the kind of people that we continue to have sexual experiences with. Kind of your very first time having a sexual experience, you're going to have all the love chemicals, right? Oxytocin, dopamine, you're gonna feel bonding, desire, pleasure. Those feelings are going to be personified by whoever you had those experiences with. And so you think, well, I can't change my early sexual experiences. And maybe you're even a little mad to hear about this because maybe you didn't have the best early sexual experiences. But the thing you can take away from this is that you can probably have different and new preferences by exposing yourself romantically to different kinds of people, which is weird to think about because A, it means you're going on dates or hooking up with people that you aren't necessarily initially attracted to, which doesn't feel right, or at least to me, it wouldn't really feel right. In a romantic context, you're also consciously targeting people that you're unconsciously discriminating against, which also doesn't feel great. Like, hey, my name's Grace. I'm only going on a date with you because I'm trying to change my racial preferences.
Dude. This is so fucking weird, man. A couple years ago, I would have just been, I wouldn't have been able to watch this video, but if I did watch this video a couple years ago, I would just be melting. Like what is going on? Like, is this for real? Is this all women? No, this is not all women. This is women who identify as being an attractive fetish object, but don't want to directly acknowledge it. She did actually directly acknowledge it, not the fetish part. She acknowledged being an attractive female, right? And trying to get profit off of it, her image. And I'm not to say like she's not intelligent. She's clearly, intelligent to some degree, but the way she's going about it, it's just terrible. I mean, like, wow, it's so bad.
If you are brave enough to actually undertake this journey of trying to overcome your inherent biases, probably don't mention what exactly it is you're trying to achieve. But I know that most people will watch this and just be like, oh, that's cool, or that's interesting to think about, but they probably won't actively try to take steps to challenge the kind of people.
She acknowledges that the study that she took this info from, that most people, when they hear it, that they're just not going to do it because it's sounds stupid. It sounds stupid. Who in their right mind is going to start trying to date people to try to combat a perceived subconscious um, disliking towards a race of men? So who's going to do that? I don't. That sounds weird. Um, I would never suggest anyone try dating someone that they're racist against or believe they're superior against, to try to make it not be the case that they still think that and try to change their own mind about a race of men to to for to just change it because it's such a struggle she's dealing with, that she can't find Asian men attractive, but she's just continually dating white and Latin men exclusively by choice. And it's not her fault because that's who she had the most sexual relations with. As she said, she has the most sexual relationships with Latin and white dudes, and says she's sorry if it makes you mad because maybe your early sexual relations weren't with people that you chose, which is kind of fucking dark. I can't believe she fucking said that shit. Like, that just shows how fucking dark this shit just turned, and how dark the whole fucking thing is. Like, and you get a sense of how she's feeling, because this is towards the end of the video. I think she's realizing, like, wow, I just said that a minute ago. And she's wrapping up the video now. So I'm going to try to let the video wrap up without stopping it many more times, but this is just rough, man.
That they're attracted to, because that's uncomfortable, and most people do not want to do things that are uncomfortable. Why would they want to do something that's uncomfortable? There is so much discomfort in life as it is inherently already. But I think at the very least, it's good to be aware of the inherent biases that exist within us, and it's good to be aware of how these biases affect our worldview and affect how we treat other people. If you are brave enough to actually try to challenge your attraction, good for you. It's not an easy thing to do, but if it is something,
let's just get a quick instant replay on that.
At least it's good to be aware of the inherent biases that exist within us, and it's good to be aware of how these biases affect our worldview and affect how we treat other people. If you are brave enough to actually try to challenge your attraction, good for you.
Right there, if I was subscribed to this fetish timeline and I was the target audience, I think that is the moment right there where I'd be like, all right, I need to clean up. Thanks. I'm going to subscribe. You got an OnlyFans or something like that? Like, that was the culmination, I think, statement that her target audience is looking for. It's insane. This is fetish content in 2025.
It's not an easy thing to do, but if it is something that you're actually able to achieve, it's like unlocking a new superpower. And just in undertaking this journey, you're gonna expose yourself to so many new experiences, so many new cultures and worldviews, and that's something that's really cool and makes you a more well-rounded human being. Another question you might be asking, is it wrong to not want to date inside of my race or outside of my race because of personal reasons? Like, if you are a minority or a minority woman in this culture, that is a very specific experience you're having. And
okay, there's nothing wrong with having a preference. I've said this many times throughout this whole time here. There's nothing wrong with it. The only wrong thing is when you try to make a video like this telling the world how you love white dudes. That's weird. And put it on YouTube, where this is not paid content. This is free on YouTube. I mean, there's plenty of wacky stuff on YouTube. Plenty wacky stuff. But if it's it's just not right because you don't know who's going to see this video, and you should lock this video up behind a couple paywalls, I think, because the average healthy person, healthy Asian dude, is doesn't need to see this. I don't want to see this. I'm watching it because another Asian dude watched it and I didn't like his take on it, so I'm here to kind of flesh it out.
If you decide to date a straight white man, they are not going to understand that experience that you're having. You can talk to them about it, you can educate them, you can recall your own experiences about it, but they will never have the first-hand account of what that's like. And I can understand a lot of people who are minorities just being like, I don't want to deal with that. I just want to be with someone who just gets it. When I am angry or frustrated about something that's happened, I just want to be able to tell my partner about it and not have to worry about that extra layer of explanation that they might need if they were a different kind of person. And obviously in a lot of cultures, it is desirable to want.
What she's describing is a language barrier, which is nothing like a racial preference. Those have no place in the same discussion. Yeah. If you're dating someone who's like from Vietnam and they English is their second language and English is her first language, and their English isn't as good. There's going to be a language barrier. They're going to need an extra explanation, maybe to break some kind of idea down that they don't know, they're not familiar with in the new language. That's normal. That has nothing to do with what you're talking about.
Want to marry someone who is of
She's deflecting.
the same culture or of the same race or is also from the same place. And to an extent that almost kind of makes sense. It's almost like there is an undeniable bond and understanding that already exists. But I also really resonate with the flip side of the coin. I think it's really cool when you date someone of a different culture and you really get to learn about them. And I think it's cool when they speak a different language and eat a different kind of food and have different customs. Because in being romantically involved with this partner, now you get to be a part of that. And having a variety of experiences and being exposed to different cultures, at least to me, is something that's very important. And
so what she's doing is trying to give advice to someone for the question she asked. Is it wrong to have a preference for dating inside or outside of your race? She's trying to give advice to someone, and at that point in the video, I don't think she's fit to be given this kind of advice. That's all I'm saying right now.
Makes me feel more fulfilled. But that isn't to say that there would probably also be a lot of perks if I dated someone that was Chinese American. I think we would really understand each other in a lot of ways. I don't know exactly what I am going to take away from all of this information that I just threw at you. Now that I'm aware of it, I think it is something that I will try to take into my romantic life. And dating isn't something that's super high on my priority list right now. I'm not actively on dating apps and I'm not really looking for anything, but in the future, I would like to try to see people that aren't the kind of people that I would usually see, and I'm interested and curious to see how that goes. In the meantime, please let me know your thoughts down below. I really wanted to make this video because A, it's fascinating to me, and B, I don't think it's something that most people think about. The only reason why I'm aware of this phenomenon is because I talked to a friend who is so
Should I post this video and then at her in her comments with the link to my video? Is that devious? I guess you'll find out if I did it or not.
acutely aware of these biases because he is an Asian American man who's been putting himself out there and he's been on all the apps. But as someone who is on the other side of the equation and who is in a way a part of this problem, it is something that I wanted to challenge and it is something that I wanted to bring to light. And so, yeah, that's why this video exists. My name is Grace. Thank you for watching and I will see you again very soon. Bye.
Yeah, made it to the end of the video. I didn't think that was possible. Okay. So I thought I had been talking for like an hour, but it's only been 20 minutes. That goes to show you how much blood has been running through my brain, just kind of digesting, unpacking some of the things that she's been talking about. It was pain. It was pain. I made it. I know a few years ago, I would have not been prepared or equipped to deal with hearing this kind of language come out of a girl I find attractive. I mean, I think I'm a decently attractive guy. I'm not, I'm not decked out like, some dudes, but I think I'm decently attractive. but just having my, I guess, life experiences getting older. Um, I'll even credit working out because I did work out for a few periods, for a few years of my life, and that really changed my confidence. Right now, I'm kind of in the not working out camp, just because of life, I guess, and finding other things interesting. Not you know as it may, I'm in shape. I'm not overweight. I'm good BMI, good certain BMI. Um, like to think I'm a decently adjusted dude. So I can handle this, hearing this kind of language that comes out of these types of people, and when I hear it, when I see it, the fetishization of it, I'm turned off. I'm personally, and the personality wise, I'm turned off. Physically, if I saw her on Hinge or Tinder or something, because I'm not gonna read a bio. I'm not gonna look through your profile if I'm just swiping, which is something I recently did last night. I re-downloaded Hinge and Tinder last night. Not my highest moment, but yeah, I found that now because I haven't had them for what feels like a couple years. I haven't had Tinder, Hinge, Bumble, whatever. I have not for a couple years. I just gave up on it. So I was going through a period of time getting tons of matches, and then went to like no matches, and I was like, what's going on? Maybe God or space aliens are telling me, hey man, give it a rest. These women are too crazy. Don't fuck with these women. Focus on yourself. So I took that as a sign, and I just deleted all the apps and decided to come back to it. Before, I would spend time looking at each profile. Each swipe of mine was like it was a big deal for me. But now, like, I'm just attraction. I look at the face. I feel like I have a finer sense for like faces now and body, just visually looking to see like, wow, that's an attractive girl. I don't care what the fuck she does. I'll at least swipe on her, and then if we match, whatever. And then if we match, I'll then go to the profile and then look around, whatever like that. Um, Before, I don't know, it was a big mental hurdle for me, just even swiping. But now it's like, oh, I'll do a couple, get a reply, get a like match, whatever. I'm not gonna stress about it. I'm not gonna insert. I'm not gonna hang around. But yeah, that's just more details about me, because this would be the first video that I'm posting. But yeah, I feel like this had to be said. Let me know your thoughts. If I even post this, still kind of thinking about that. But yeah, this was fun.